So their new FNaF Fangame JR is released recently, and it is so good. But the tutorial is it's a bit lacking, to say the least. There's quite a few main details that aren't really explained too well, and some stuff is hard to figure out on your own. So I've made this tutorial video to try and help people out, because I definitely had a lot of issues trying to learn how things worked in the game, because a lot of things are pretty poorly explained. So maybe in the new patch that's coming out soon it gets explained better, but that isn't out yet. It's still 1.0 for me, so we're going off of that. So the way the game works is that you have to, from night 1 to 5, there are 6 animatronics, and you have to determine which one is haunted, and then the ghost will move from that haunted animatronic to a new haunted animatronic. You have to determine it again. Each night has a set amount of tasks, aka haunted animatronics, you have to find, and once you complete all of those, the night ends. During the night, each animatronic's stability will gradually get lower, and if you guess an animatronic and it's not haunted, then their stability will greatly decrease. So in the later nights, it's important that you juggle each animatronic, having to repair them as soon as you know that they're safe. From nights 1 to 5, there are 6 animatronics that can become haunted. These are the only animatronics you have to worry about from the first 5 nights, and they're all active on night 1. Maybe not Balloon Boy, but yeah. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy all act the exact same. They will go into a camera and they will do a little evidence if they're haunted, and that's pretty much it. For the puppet, they are completely invisible. There is a speaker icon on the camera switcher in the bottom right when you're looking at the cameras, and when you click that, it'll make a little staticky noise. But if the puppet's in the room, it'll play this noise. So that's how you know the puppet is in the room. It's important to know where the puppet is for certain evidences. So if a handprint appears on the screen and the music stops just as the handprint appears, that was the puppet is the haunted one, sort of thing. So it's important to, make sure you know where the puppet is. Balloon Boy, aka Freebie BB, is the easiest one to get evidence for. He will not appear in any cameras, he does not have any weird audio. Instead, in the stability screen, his stability will glitch out, and that's how you know he's haunted. That's it. That's the whole Balloon Boy mechanic. Just look at the stability screen and then vote him. You don't even have to look at the cameras. It's so easy. So, what are the evidences? Well, there are 4, and they add more each night, but by night 3 it's already all 4 evidences, so night 3, 4, and 5 are basically the same with more tasks. These evidences are, they can be really difficult to spot, so I'm going to go from the easiest to spot to the hardest to spot. The easiest to spot starts on night 3, and it is the camera moving on its own. When the haunted animatronic is in the camera view, the camera will just on its own. It'll just and it'll just move on its own, without you even doing anything. So if the animatronic is alone when this happens, make sure to check the puppet just in case, and the camera just goes and it moves, then that animatronic is haunted. So you just keep checking animatronics until one's alone and the thing happens. So yeah, that's probably the easiest, I'd say. The second easiest evidence is the connection lost screen. Now, this one can be easy, but So, it's important to keep in mind, when you call an animatronic during downtime, that animatronic cannot be haunted. So, just keep that in mind for this one, because the connection lost screen, how it works is that one animatronic will always be connection lost. Whatever camera they go into will be connection lost. So you have to use process of elimination to see who it is. You have to check every other camera, and just check until there's only one person left it could possibly be. It can't be Balloon Boy. It could be the puppet. If the music is always in the connection lost screen, it could be the puppet, but it can't be Balloon Boy, and it can't be if you call someone during downtime, it can't be them. Downtime is the space between the ghost haunting animatronics, by the way. So to figure out who the connection lost evidence animatronic is, just check who isn't in those cameras and until there's only one person left, and then that's your haunted animatronic. The last 2 evidences are really, really annoying. I saved one for hardest to easiest, so this one starts on night 2, and it is handprints. So the animatronic will, when they leave the camera, that's important to remember, when they leave the camera, they will put a handprint somewhere near the top of the monitor in that room, just on the camera. So you want to make sure you remember who is in what cameras, and when they leave, they will leave it behind. So, you know, you can, like, remember, okay, Foxy's in the art room. And then if you, like, switch to a camera and you switch back and there's a handprint there and Foxy's gone, it might be Foxy's the haunted animatronic. The handprints can appear while you're watching the camera, so it's like, if you're, like, looking at the camera and Foxy's in the art room, and then Foxy leaves and the handprint appears, that's Foxy. Make sure you're also listening for music, as the puppet can also leave handprints, despite not being visible on the cameras. The puppet can do everything else the other ones can, just isn't visible. The final evidence sucks. It is the worst. In the tutorial, it explains it, and this one starts on night 1 as well. But in the tutorial, it explains it by showing the 3 claymation figures, and then Bonnie is, like, violently flickering and shaking, you know. That's how you know which one it is. But in the actual game, the flickering evidence is pretty much impossible to spot. The flickering is just slightly more than usual. So you really have to get pretty adjusted to how the cameras normally look. I recommend, like, if you think maybe this one's flickering more than usual, you compare it to another camera to see if it really is. So if an animatronic is in the camera, probably best to check if they're alone first, because that's really, could be 2, could be either one. But you check if the animatronic is alone and it's flickering more than usual, then that animatronic is haunted. It's similar to the camera moving one, except instead of the camera moving, it's flickering. The way this evidence works for the puppet is that the lights will just be flickering, and the music will be in that room, but no one else will be there. That's how you know the puppet is the one. I find it pretty annoying that the puppet can still do the flickering despite not being visible on any camera, but that's just how it is, I guess. So, how do we know which evidence is active? Because there can only be one active at each time. To my knowledge, it might be different actually, but I've always found that only one of them was active. So how do you know which evidence the ghost is going to do? Well, it's pretty simple actually. You go through each camera, and you check for some of the telltale signs. If one of the cameras is connection lost, after the ghost has haunted one of the animatronics, then it's the connection lost one. If you're going through the cameras, go slowly by the way, don't go too fast, and the camera just seems to move on its own, then it's the moving one. If you go through the cameras and near the top of the screen you start seeing handprints, it's a handprint one. And if you don't see any of that, it's probably the flickering one. Or it's Balloon Boy. Make sure you always check Balloon Boy's stability before you go and check for other evidence. The last thing I'm going to talk about for night 1 to 5 is how to manage your stability, and also how to make your life a whole lot easier. This is just a tip from me. This isn't really, you know, like, needed to do, but this is a big tip from me. Whenever you get downtime, which is the space between animatronics being haunted, you should always call someone. If you call an animatronic during the downtime section, then that animatronic cannot be haunted the next time animatronic calls, well, the next time the ghost calls to haunted animatronic. What I love to do is the first one I call during my first downtime is the puppet, because that makes your life so much easier, because the puppet is invisible and you have to listen for them. So not having to listen for them makes it so much nicer. And once you're done repairing the animatronic and you send them back, as long as there hasn't been another downtime in that period, that animatronic is still safe, because the ghost is already in another animatronic, which is great. Also, if you're sure the animatronic is safe, like if you know it's handprints, and you just saw Chica leave a camera and didn't leave a handprint behind, then you can, you know, call Chica if you need to repair them. That's how you can manage your stability. Balloon Boy can be called at any time, because, you know, as long as you know his stability is not glitching out, he's probably safe. But I like to leave him for last, because having him being haunted is an easy freebie BB. Now on to night 6. Heavy spoilers ahead. If you haven't gone to night 6 yet, probably click off this video. Okay, so night 6, you go down into the basement to fight the ghost head on and fight the Mangle. The night 6 segment is based on Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It is, the first half of it at least, is completely FNaF 2, with no differences other than Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica, and Mangle are not present. All of the animatronics have become withered, So now, you know, the Freddy from Juniors is now Withered Freddy. The Balloon Boy is Withered Balloon Boy. The puppet is the Withered Puppet. But they all work the same as they do in FNaF 2. So Balloon Boy will go in the vents and you have to put the mask on. Although as of 1.0, you can't actually see him in the side vents. I think it's a bug though. The puppet, you have to wind the music box. And then all of the Withers, well, the main 3 Withers, Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica, when they enter the office, you have to put on the mask. You get a good time to do this as well. I've like waited 3 seconds before putting it on and didn't die. They also make a noise when they enter the office, so you can tell when they enter. It won't flick the camera down automatically when they walk in though, unlike FNaF 2. The way that Foxy works is exactly the same as Withered Foxy in FNaF 2. You have to flicker the light, not like bzzz. You have to go bzz 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 bzz. That's how you get rid of them. You have to flicker the light. So yeah, as long as you know how to play FNaF 2, it's pretty simple. You use space to put on the mask, you wind up the music box, you check the lights using WASD, although you don't really need to check the vent lights, at least not for anyone except for Balloon Boy, who is broken on the current patch. But yeah, just need, so save your flashlight battery as much as you can, because the second half, you're probably going to need it. At 1:22 AM, a cutscene will play. This is the beginning of part 2. This cutscene shows all of the withered animatronics being put onto a conveyor belt and going into a room that is covered up by a sticky note that says "Beware the Mangle." It also chucks in some endoskeleton pieces, I guess. Once this cutscene is over, it's into part 2, and the Mangle is now after you. In order to avoid dying, you have to flash the Mangle when they're in the middle hallway, by pressing W, obviously. So you have to keep your flashlight for that. And they can also send their little owl tail thing through the side vents. You don't need to use the light for those, so it'll pop out and make this noise. That's how you know they come out, so if you hear that noise around the cameras, immediately go off and put the mask on, because that's how you avoid the owl. Those are the only ways that Mangle can kill you, using the owl on the side vents or coming through the middle hallway. You have to shine your light to avoid them. However, there is a bit of an issue, as there's also the Ghost, and the Ghost will attempt to break through the cameras and steal your flashlight. In order to avoid the Ghost, you have to check the party room cameras, the main hall camera, the dining room camera, and the prize corner camera for like a hand that's like reaching out. It's kind of hard to see, it's kind of like transparent, but it'll be moving a lot, so yeah. If it's there for too long, a red like warning sign will appear on that camera, so that'll help you out. You have to hold shift on that camera until you hear it go and like disappear, and that's how you know you've beaten the Ghost at that point. Yep, and you get some free time. If the Ghost is there for too long, it'll shatter your camera, and if it does that too much, it'll take your flashlight. A bit of an issue with this is that the Mangle has always been through the cameras, and whenever the Mangle moves, the camera flashes black. However, you can still hold shift on the Ghost even when the camera visibility is gone, so remember that. Once you last long enough against the Mangle by flashing them in the middle hallway, putting the mask on for the owl on the side vents, then you win. You've won the game. Congratulations, you are Junior Man. You are winner.